Welcome to the Sandro channel. Make sure that you subscribe.
Hi folks, Sandro here with more cartoon news and shenanigans, and today I'm doing a quick little review of Blue's Big City Adventure. This one came out on November 18th on Paramount Plus, and it was not good. I'll be honest, up front, I'm going to be up front. I did not think it was a good movie. I'm giving this a 4 out of 10. If you guys don't want to hear me talk about it, you know, I gave it a 4 out of 10. You could go about your day, and that's that. See you later. If you guys want to hear me talk about it, yeah. I did not think it was very good. I know what you guys are going to say. You're going to say, Sandro, this is Blue's Clues. It's aimed at little, there's kids movies, and then there's like, little kids movies, like preschool movies. Some of you could make the argument this was aimed at preschoolers, but when you make a movie, when you make a big movie like this, it was a huge crossover. It's kind of like, what they did with Marvel, right? They had like all 3 of the Spider-Men. They brought back all 3 of the original big hosts of Blue's Clues here. And it just, like, it was fun to see Steve again, right? I grew up in the 90s. I only really remember Steve. So, like, it was cool. I'm like, wow, it's Steve. After all these years, he's still kicking, It's like, there he is. It's Steve. He's actually right there, by the way. And there, too. I almost missed him there and there and there. Yeah, so Steve, I actually really like what they did with Steve. I think he was the best character of the whole movie. The other characters, on the other hand, not so much. Not so much. We're going to get into it. So, it's a very short movie. It does seem to be aimed at, like, little kids. And I feel like there was nothing here for adults. There was maybe one line, and it came from Steve. That was the only thing that I felt like was for adults, where Steve makes a joke about how is Josh able to have, Joe is the purple guy, right? He's like, how is Joe able to run a gift shop in New York City when the rent is so expensive? And like, I found that to be like maybe the only adult humor in the entire movie, which was kind of sad. I felt like they could have, the fact that they brought Steve back, everybody grew up, right? Like everybody who watched Blue's Clues from the 90s were like 30 years old now. Right. So I kind of wanted to see a little bit more from Steve making, more adult jokes for the adult audience that are, who are watching this movie on Paramount Plus with their kids. Right. I wanted to see at least more adult jokes from Steve, but we only got that vague one. And it wasn't even much of a joke. It was more of a throwaway line, just like, how can you even afford, how can you afford rent in New York City? More of a throwaway line, but it's still, I found that was like one of the only funny lines in the entire movie, and because it just caught me off guard. I'm like, wow, they actually said that in a Blue's Clues movie. Outside of that, the plot is very, very lackluster. By the way, this is a musical. None of the songs are like any good. I felt like they're just very, like I said, much like how Steve had a throwaway line there, most of these songs are actually probably throwaway songs. Like you watch it, you hear the song, you're like, oh, it's a nice little melody. You immediately forget it. I watched this film like 2 days ago. I goddamn cannot remember a single song or any of the lyrics from this movie. It was so forgettable. Other things that I wanted to talk about really quick are the plot. The plot is borderline just laughable. So this character here, Rainbow Puppy, she is some kind of like theatrical person. She's holding like a big like play, and so she hands out auditions, and apparently Joe here, or Josh, his name is Josh, sorry, this one's Joe, the purple one is Joe. The blue one here, the blue striped shirt guy, that is Josh, and he always secretly wanted to be, it was his big dream to be in like a big play, right? In a big theatrical play. So he gets an invitation from Rainbow Puppy to audition, and his big thing is that he's going to go into real life New York. They do say that storybook land is like different from the real world, and I thought that was pretty interesting. Also, when they go into the real world, okay, we'll talk about that later. Let's just finish the plot here. So that's the plot. Josh wants to go through New York with Blue to find his way to the theater. That's the whole movie. They're just trying to get to the theater so Josh can audition. And along the way, they realize that they left their handy dandy notebook back at the house. So they're lost in New York. It's another cliche, just lost in New York style movie. And wasn't really good. There was like very few jokes. There was just, good God. It passes by so quick too. It's like, it passes by, like there was no sustenance here. It was just song after song. If you take away all the songs, this movie might just be like 20 minutes long. Like it is, there is nothing here. Oh my God. Outside of Steve, I really like what they did with Steve. I like what they did with Joe, where he was always known for having this wacky shirt with presents on it. So he opens a gift shop in New York. Steve, on the other hand, right? Blues Clues, right? So they make him into a detective, which is why you see him in detective costume here. And yeah, I really like that. I really like that they took their sort of their essence of their character. You know, I think this guy was probably the best one, where he had a shirt that always had gifts on it, so opening up a gift shop makes sense. And then Steve going on to become a detective, you know, he was always working with Blue to solve some clues. Makes sense to make him a detective. And I guess if they ever bring the host back, we now know that if they ever do this again in the future and they were to go to New York again, they'd probably just see Josh being in a theater or being in a play. So we don't even have to imagine what he would be if he left the show. This movie basically tells us. And I mean, at least he can sing vaguely, you know. He does do. At the end of the movie, they all find, you know, they end up finding each other here, and they do find the theater. They were a little bit late, but then Josh starts singing, and luckily it goes on the billboards of the different New York, what do you call them, the digital billboards or whatever. And the rainbow puppy, which is right on the digital billboard herself right here, she ends up hearing it. She goes back to the sort of theater to listen in, and she decides to pick Josh as the lead. So that's the plot. It's a very bad plot. It's Blue's Clues. I understand it. I understand, guys. I know it's a movie aimed at little kids, like preschoolers. This was not a film aimed at adults, even though they had Steve there. It probably should have been. This could have been a huge movie for Nickelodeon. They fucked it up. They really fucked it up. This was a terrible story. Like I said, without the songs, you've got maybe 20 good minutes of dialogue, and that's about it. It goes by really fast. The wackiest thing that I wanted to talk about was that as they're traveling through the city, for what I don't understand, maybe I'm just not up to date on my Blue's Clues lore, you know? But I was just wondering what the heck was going on. Whenever they would like touch a trash can or a cup, sometimes it would just come to life. Like, I don't understand what was going on there. I know they do come from, like, storybook land, right? So I guess maybe they have magic powers of some kind. But, like, I was so confused. I'm like, how are they turning, like, a trash can and a donut and mustard to life? You know? I didn't understand it. I'd really love it if someone in the audience who actually watches the show still to explain it to me. How are they just making life? You know? That'd be a great question. And, one of the other wacky things, too, about this movie is other people see, like, Blue. They see this, like, blue dog. They see, like, it dancing. They see some of the other characters, too, later on in the film, like Alarm Clock here and Mr. Salt and Mrs. Pepper and whatever. They see a variety of different characters, and it just seems in this world they're just like they're used to it, or I don't know, like sometimes they seem a little bit surprised, but then other times they're just like, oh, it's just happening, it's just a musical number. So yeah, I was very like unclear on the rules. It just seems like the people of New York just kind of went along with all of these weird, like unbelievable characters that are popping up out of nowhere. They're just like, yeah, mustard talks now, no problem. Yeah, so it would have been cool if we got maybe like the government steps in and they're like, oh my God, are these like aliens or something? I would have liked to see like anything else other than the plot of this fucking movie, okay? Why couldn't the government just like abduct Blue and do experiments on her? That's a real shame. The other thing that was a real shame was Periwinkle, right? Periwinkle didn't really make an appearance here. I think he should have been in there. That would have been cool. And Magenta, Magenta is like the pink dog. I don't know. Is there any? Oh, there's Magenta. Yeah, Magenta was there for like a little bit, like very little at the very end of the movie. She was also on a poster, so it was cool to see that character. The male song. Okay, I've been out of Blue's Clues way too long. I remember they would always do the male song where it's like mail time, mail time, mail time. And then they do like, when the mail, it comes, mail. You know, there was a little song. They seem to have changed that up for Josh's run. I didn't like the new mail song. There was a couple of songs, they did a little change to some of them. I think the original Steve songs were way better than whatever they're making here in this movie. And yeah, there wasn't a lot to say about this film. I'll tell you that much. It was a very short film if you subtract the musicals. And I really wish Nickelodeon did this a lot better, because you had the nostalgia of all three original Blue's Clues hosts coming back, and you just made this trash. The only other thing I'll mention is there was a couple times Nickelodeon has gone very woke. Blue's Clues itself, you guys might remember I did a video talking about how they did like a weird gay pride parade thing. Blue's Clues Pride Parade. They did this shit like a while back. I actually watched this and did a reaction video and said it was so like weird and creepy that they we finally know why Blue's Clues. Didn't he quit because his hair? He was balding, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, they did this whole shebang here with Nina, whatever her face, Nina West. And it was very creepy. At one point in the video, they even say, like, some families love each other. Like, incest in Blue's Clues. I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, they didn't go this hard in the movie. They did have a couple of pride flags here and there. And I'm like, fucking Nickelodeon can't help themselves with the wokeness. And I think there might have been another scene where, like, two guys were, like, holding hands. And I'm like, good God, Nickelodeon, please stop. And outside of that, you know, just an awful movie. I would give this, I don't even, like, I was going to give it a 4, but that's too high. I'm reducing my number down to a 3 after thinking about it. That's it, Blue's Clues. I've had enough of your shit. This movie was not a good movie. You could pass this. Like, if you were thinking you had to watch this film because it was going to be a hype film, you could easily just pass this film, and I don't think anybody would give a shit. Like, it is a skippable film that is not very quality, and the animation was just okay. It was, I don't know, Blue, I think they could have made Blue look a lot better, especially after seeing some movies like Clifford that, well, Clifford's animation was really bad, then they delayed it, kind of like what Sonic did. Let's take a look at Clifford. Yeah. The Clifford movie. Yeah, Clifford doesn't look half bad here. They could have just made Blue look like a real dog. I think that would have been cool. But they also, Clifford, delayed. Yeah, I did a video on this. I don't know. Yeah, like the animation looked, this is what like Clifford looked like originally, and people were like, it looks a little bit creepy. They delayed it, and then they made Clifford look a lot better in the final film. So that's pretty cool that they did that, but Blue's Clues, they were just like, nah. It was definitely a lower budget feeling film, right? The animation, like I said, was just kind of on. It was just like a regular movie, or it was like a regular episode of the show. I never got the feeling that they pulled all the stops out for the animation here. Just a regular episode of the new modern show where you know, the episodes look like this, right? This is what Blue looks like, and it's just not very good, right? Like, Blue doesn't look very good here. I think they could have did a lot better of a job with Blue's animation, and outside of that, just a very lackluster film. I'm going to end the film here. I'm going to end the review here. 3 out of 10. That's my rating. I want to hear your guys' thoughts down below. Do you disagree with me? Do you give this a 5? Do you give it? If you give this a 10 out of 10, you're lying to yourself. Get the hell out of here. That's going to be the end of the video. So comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Please like, please share, please subscribe. And why not watch an ad for your boy Sandro? Thank you guys so much. Peace out. Have a great day.